All right, we are live on YouTube. Let's start us on Instagram. How we doing, YouTube? How we doing? All right, let me get hello, everybody. How we doing today? If you can hear me, let me know. Let me see, make sure the mic's working. All right, mic's working. We got the comment up there. We got our comments. Hello, hello. If you can hear me, let me see. Got some people trickling in on YouTube. Got some people trickling in on Instagram. Hello, hello. So, how is everybody doing on this wonderful Monday afternoon at 2 p.m.? And so maybe some of you might have seen the video, the theme of the day, right? And Wednesdays, if you're new around here, maybe this is your first time, maybe this is your many time. On Wednesdays, I like to do this interactive live stream where we essentially try to solve your problems, right? A lot of problems, a lot of issues. We've done the shoulders, we've done glutes, we've done squats. And so this is just kind of a way to help you essentially get yourself back into getting out of pain. Loud and clear from Phoenix. Hello from Phoenix. I love Phoenix. I can't wait. Sedona is one of my favorite places of all time. So bring that warm weather over here in Pittsburgh. But essentially, what we're getting ourselves into today is the dead butt syndrome. People are like, Nick, you're making this shit up. What the hell is dead butt syndrome? What even is that? So I want to talk about what this essentially is. And dead butt syndrome is something called glute amnesia. And so what happens as we get older, what happens as we sit for too long, what happens as we travel a lot, or just whenever you don't use your muscles, right? It's the old saying, you use it or lose it. And this applies almost full-heartedly to our body as we age and we get older. So one of the things that I've talked about many times, and I see this with clients all the time, is Nick, I'm dealing with pain. I'm dealing with low back pain. Nick, I'm dealing with knee pain. Nick, I'm dealing with shoulder pain. And when we find out after going through studies and tests and looking at what is actually really causing your pain and reverse engineering what's going on, we find out that a lot of the time is based on your glute function, right? A lot of the times it's based upon the way that your quads function, the way that your shoulder functions, right? And so a lot of these things kind of coincide together. And that's a lot of the stuff that I like to do on these Wednesday live streams, is to really talk about it, how we doing over here on YouTube. Is to really talk about the glutes, right? I think everybody always says like, oh, the glutes are all about building a fat ass and getting yourself all. It's more than that. So that's what we're going to kind of get ourselves into today on this live stream, where we're essentially going to turn on the glutes. Because believe it or not, the glute is the largest muscle in your body, and you actually have three glute muscles. So you have a glute maximus, which is your main butt. You have your glute minimus, and you have your glute medius. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through a couple different exercises so that you can get yourself fired up and get yourself going. And if you want, I have a free guide. Something that kind of gives you some ideas. I have a whole list of like little exercises that I've done for the glutes on Instagram. So I have that included. It's a PDF. So if you're interested, make sure that you get yourself the free guide. And it's something that's quick, skim through, read it, and be like, okay, this makes sense. Let me start doing these exercises. So let's get into it. So the first thing first is the thing that I'm sitting on, right? This is a low cost. So a lot of times when we're looking at, damn, I need to do a workout, I need to do a lot of these different things. Yes, we all need to work out, right? It's just how it is. But how we work out is going to make all the difference, right? And so a lot of times we get ourselves onto a bench. Maybe you have some free weights. Maybe you got one of your 8-pound weights sitting over here that has dust all over it. And maybe you even have one of these balls and you don't even know, what the hell am I going to do with it, right? So I encourage you, whenever you start doing your exercises, is to use this as a bench, right? Very simple. Use a stability ball as a bench, because what's going to end up happening when you roll yourself all the way out and you lift your hips and you start doing your chest presses, your flies, or whatever, you're actually having to stabilize by the glutes, right? So this actually becomes more of a glute exercise rather than, maybe just a primary chest or arm exercise. So then not only here, but you have to stabilize at the core. So that's a very easy, quick thing that you can do to start really turning on your glutes, right? And just start using a stability ball, doing your chest presses, doing the stuff easily on there. So very first thing, get yourself a damn stability ball, right? And that's how, and really, I always say, if you can get your bands, like a pack of the bands, right? You can get a pack of bands, a stability ball, you're ready to rock and roll. You can do a lot with that, right? So I want you to think about that. So not only do we have the stability ball, that's a very simple thing you can start to use, is now let's get, and you know, these balls always roll over at you, is I want you to start getting into a band. So a good thing about the band, right, depending on where you place it, whether it's around your shins, above the knees, or around the feet, you're going to get different functions. If you see, I got my pit socks on, you know, I'm matching today. But having it around your feet allows you to work a little bit more of the side of the butt. So when you're doing anything, right, I encourage you, if you're doing just simple squats and you're getting back into it, or maybe you're finding out that, Nick, my butt actually is kind of lost. What are we saying? I'm penguin walking over here. Buy a new one. Don't use an old one. They definitely have a shot. Oh my God. Get some new bands are cheap, right, Debbie? You don't want to buy some new bands and end up or buy some old, use your old bands and they end up breaking in front of your face. That's the last thing you want. So make sure you get them around your feet. And this is an easy hack to turn on the side of your butt, is if it's around your feet, and I want you to go as far as you can wide until the knees start to buckle in. As soon as you feel that, you press your knees out, and this is going to help turn on the vastus lateralis, which is your quad, but it's also going to help turn on your butt so that whenever you sink down, this is going to be more engaged, right? Same thing whenever you would go up a little bit higher, right? If you go up to your shins, now you're getting a different resistance, you're getting a different pull. And the thing is when you're going down into your squats, it makes it just a little bit more engaged. Very simple. Now, these are two simple things, using the stability ball, using the bands, but sometimes that's not enough, right? Because it's been dormant for so long. So we have to resort into simple things like isometrics, right? Very simple is standing up, and never thought I'd really even do this on a live stream, but thinking about squeezing your butt, right? Where you're at right now is roll your shoulders back and squeeze your butt and feel the muscles, right? And if you can't squeeze your butt and you can't feel the muscles, now we have an issue, right? And that's one of the very simple things that you can do isometrically is contract, 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 and start to get yourself, you know, is this actually working? And so you find, well, Nick, okay, that's good enough, but what else can I do? Well, one of the easiest things that you can do is, if you can stand up nice and tall, is step back. Let me bring this back a little bit here so you can see, is that whenever you're stepping back, get my water over here, is stepping back at a diagonal, right? So think, if you could step to the side and step at a diagonal, I want you to feel how that actually turns on your butt, but it's got to be diagonal. It can't be just right back. Back does give you some sort of glute function, but I want you to think diagonal to turn on all of your posterior chain. So if you can start getting yourself into a diagonal, just a step back, I'm not talking about a diagonal lunge, but stepping it back as far as you possibly can, you're going to feel the glute turn on, right? And that's what's going to be most important, because when we don't have this glute function, what ends up happening is we end up getting referred back pain. We end up having a tight hamstring, back pain here, but no activation here. And you wonder why there's a tug of war going on from your shoulders and your hamstrings, and it all just centers right around here, right on the lower back, right? And so that's why it's important to make sure you do have some sort of glute function and you are strengthening and going and making it an effort, right? It's not about just having some big ass, fat ass. It's about making sure that it's actually working. Because if you don't have glute function and more or less your TFL and your side butt, what ends up happening, and you see this all the time, go to the mall, you go to the grocery store, is you see people, they can't walk. They can't lift up their legs. So one of the main functions of your glute is to help your gait, is to help whenever you are walking, you have leg swing and you have a chance to lift and get yourself into a walking position. So when you're coming up, you know from extension, you can bend and swing that leg forward. Now that's the problem. As we age, we lose that function because most people are sitting down for long periods of time, or they're not actually activating said muscles whenever they're doing exercise or getting up at daily tasks. And so that's why it's important now, wherever you're at, is to start really thinking about this as more of a function thing rather than a thing of, where you're trying to get like, the fattest ass in the world. Now, if that's your goal, right? I'm not gonna lie, but this is more or less getting it working, getting it function. And so if you're like, okay, well, what's next? You get yourself down onto the ground, right? And if you can get yourself onto the ground and you can start doing glute bridges, is a very simple, everybody's probably seen a glute bridge, right? But when you get up to a glute bridge, you hold, and then as you slowly come down, instead of just falling all the way down, you hover and keep yourself back up, right? And that's where the band comes into play, because the band now can apply some more resistance as you're going up, like we talked about in whenever we were standing and doing our squats, right? And so with the band, it now has to recruit a lot more of these muscles on the lateral side, and therefore you get some more activation in your glutes. And that's what's going to help you as if you're on the journey of glute discovery. But one of the good things about the resistance bands is that they're cheap, right? You don't need to spend a lot of money for these resistance bands. You could do a lot of this stuff by yourself at the house, and really a low cost entry to get yourself out of pain, because when it comes down to it, a lot of the reasons why we're in pain in general, it's because we're getting referred pain from something else that isn't working, right? And this was full-heartedly for me, right? I had no idea about core and glute function in my early 20s whenever I was suffering from severe back pain. But as soon as I started making this, started doing Pilates, started making this more of, my fitness routine rather than going to the gym, seeing how much weight I can lift, I started to realize, oh my God, I'm actually getting myself out of pain and I'm doing something about it. So I encourage you to do the same thing. Now, you might have just saw maybe my video. I did just post a video here about the dead butt syndrome, which is why we're talking about it today. And so when you're here, and I want you to think, since I didn't have a chance to really explain this. So, everybody's done the fire hydrants, right? The fire hydrants around the feet, fire hydrants around the leg. But this is one of the best exercises for your glutes possible, right? And a lot of times people say, well, Nick, that ain't going to build no ass. Well, the thing about the fire hydrant is that you're working multiple muscle groups here, right? And so when you're doing this, you can actually feel the time under tension, and especially when you're doing this from side to side. Where people don't actually feel it in the glute is because they do it like this, and they really do think that they are a dog peeing on a fire hydrant, and their hips are all the way back here. So I want you to think, when you're doing this, you keep your hips pointing down the whole time and not really expect yourself to bring the leg all the way up. You want to just keep it in a position where you're getting that tension over there on the glute max. Now, whenever I did the video, it was adding the extension. So the reason why I have you do the extension is just to tax a little bit more of the glute. And as you come back, right, it's just adding a different effect right here to the glute medius. And therefore, that's what's going to help get you a little bit more tone on the side butt. And obviously the same thing with the donkey kick, right? Everybody's done these a million times, but I want you to start adding that extension involved into it. So now you can shape your hamstrings as well as the glutes, right? And again, you don't need the band per se for this, but I will say the band does apply and help out a lot more than you would think, right? Especially this one. I'm using just, I found out the hard way is I used to always just do my medium and my heavy band demonstrating these exercises. Then I realized half of my body's sore. The other half feels like it hasn't been worked because I'm only demonstrating one side, and I was using a heavy band. And so I started using the light bands now, right? So, but even the light band, you can still feel a little bit of a burn. So I encourage you to try it. Start with light, start with heavy, start with medium, work yourself up. Don't sit there and just be like, oh my God, I got to get the heavy band when you don't even have any glute function to begin with. That ain't going to do anything for you, right? So you start with this. And so you don't have a band, get rid of the band. Now we're going to show you some Pilates things that you can do that's going to be really beneficial. So with this, obviously I've shown you a million times these lateral leg lifts, right? You've seen this a million times, but I also want you to think now, whenever you kick that foot forward, you turn your toe in, right? You can see my toes in. Now, if you could do this and keep your toes pointing down, what you're going to do is you're going to start taxing your TFL and you're going to start taxing your side butt. And that, my friends, is what's going to be able to really help keep you sturdy, especially on the hips if you're having any hip pain. But then from there, you can kick the leg back, kind of like I was talking about whenever we were standing, is if you can kick the leg back, keep the hips straight, you could feel this in your glute, right? You don't even really have to do too much. You could sit here, lay down on your couch, wherever you're watching this, and just lift that leg back, right? But don't try to rotate the hips back. You just lift the leg back. Or you can bend this knee, do the same thing, right? And so it's all about extension. That's what the glute is for. It's extension. So it's not what we want to think when every time you're trying to engage said muscle, think about the legs got to extend back. It's very simple. So that's why, for me, personally, like the reverse lunge, right? Because if you can reverse lunge, drive that leg, this is going to be not only a good exercise for cardio, it's going to be a good exercise for your quad, good exercise for your glute, and a good exercise just overall, right? When we come down to it. So it's something to really consider whenever you're trying to get yourself on some glute activation. So let me know if you have any questions. I can sit here and talk about this all day. I know we're on 2 different platforms and probably wondering like, Nick, what the hell are you talking about? So if you have any questions, let me know. But a lot of these things are easily preventable, right? You can get yourself into a position where, now let me tilt this down a little bit. You can get yourself into a position where you start getting into a routine and get yourself into a place where you just add maybe 1 or 2 of these exercises in through the week, right? And so if you comment DBS, I went through my Instagram and just pulled out 5 videos and gave you a little talk about DBS and what it is, so that you could try it yourself, right? And so you could try a couple of the exercises that I have for glutes, and you could try it and see if it works for yourself. But essentially, yeah, it's like, why do we want to do this, right? Why do you want to work on your glutes? And a lot of it is to get yourself out of pain. And I know for me, one of the main things that got me out of pain was whenever I started realizing and started doing Pilates, started implementing these bands, because I think a lot of times when we go to the gym, especially if you don't know what you're doing, or you're a beginner, or maybe it's your first time, what ends up happening is that you lift wrong, or maybe you're doing too much weight at first. You don't have the applied muscle activity that you need to lift said weight, so that what ends up happening is that you end up hurting yourself. And so one of the best things that you could do is get yourself and get your glutes involved and start doing stuff around that nature, because I'll tell you what, it's going to save you from years and years in the future. So if you have any questions, holler at me, let me know. And there's a couple things, little bonus tips, I think we could say, and it's on the guide if you weren't looking, is if you're somebody who's sitting all day, right? I think a lot of us, we sit at our desk. I'm sitting on the stability ball right now, sit in a chair, maybe we commute, we travel, whatever it is that we do, making sure that you're not sitting just all day long, right? We don't want to be sitting for 4 hours at a time. Make sure that you're getting yourself up out of, a little bit of breaks, 30, 40, 50 minutes. I was actually reading a study that says you should stand, like if you're working from home, stand for 45 minutes and then sit for 15 minutes and then kind of go back and forth throughout the workday. And therefore that can get yourself out of like the shrimp shoulders that we always get into, our low back pain, the headaches that we deal with all the time. So making sure that you are, if you're really thinking about you are sitting a lot and you're like, Nick, I got to sit all day long. Make sure that you're at a 90, right? I'm not talking about having like, a stick up your ass and like you're typing like this, like a robot, but just make sure that every so often you do a little form check. Are you doing this? You rolling your shoulders back? You lifting the chest? You typing? You feeling a little bit engaged here? You got your core, like I say, get yourself a little form check every once in a while. And you'll be surprised on what that will actually do for you, right? And so just be mindful, right? I think as we get older, as we start getting into, I'm in my 30s, and so it's a lot different than when I was working out now, than when I was working out beforehand, right? And the thing is every year you got to think about that, right? We're losing bone mass, we're losing muscle mass, and it's up to us to use stuff like this, use, kettlebells to get ourselves from a point where we're not getting ourselves to a place where we're falling fucking apart. So I encourage you, if you are interested, download the guide. Or if you're like, Nick, I need to know something more. This guide ain't gonna get me shit. Well, guess what? We have that 6-week challenge starting on Sunday. It's a 6-week challenge, give you all the details, give you everything you need to know to really get yourself in action for the next, I don't know, holiday season, depending on where you're living, right? I know in Canada it was just Thanksgiving, so when I say holidays, it's like it was just a holiday over there. So yeah, a lot of us are from Canada. I'm not from Canada, but we have a bunch of people in the community. But essentially, it's a Halloween challenge, right? And what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be giving you 5 workouts per week, and each week we're working on something different, right? We're going to be working on our habits. And really, what we're looking for is you, right? It's not a challenge. Like, I think I had a couple comments. People are like, Nick, this challenge, I'm not trying to challenge everybody. It's a challenge for you, right? So I'm working with you on a low cost, low barrier to entry to get you some coaching, to get you in a place where you want to be, right? And I think it's like for me, I always look at if you give somebody an opportunity to succeed, then you can succeed, right? And that's what these are. We had a bunch of people who lost 10 pounds in these challenges. We had a bunch of people who have changed their behaviors with a 14-day challenge, and this is 6 week. And so this one's going to go a little bit further. And how we do it is I break it down into 3 phases of 2 weeks, essentially. So each week, each batch, I'd say, each bi-weekly, what we're doing is we're working on a specific goal, whether it's looking at our food, looking at our water intake, focusing on our mind, our breath work, right? Just building these little habits that are going to help sustain us for the course of really our future, right? Because when it comes down to it, we are in control of what we are in control of, and that is our health. So if you could sit there and get in control of your health, a lot of times people message me all the time, Nick, I don't even know what the hell I should be doing. And a lot of times I get messages like, I'm just been doing the same thing for 10 years and I haven't been seeing any results. And so I encourage you, if you're trying to get yourself out of a rut or you're trying to get yourself started, this 6-week challenge is going to be perfect. I'm going to work with you to where you're at and what you have, and whether you're at home, you're at the gym, and we're going to figure it out, right? We're going to figure it out together. It's not me say, here, do this. It's us. Let's work together and get you on a 6-week challenge so that you can get yourself into a place that you know you're supposed to be. And from there, I think we can make a lot of things happen. And so if you're interested, go ahead and make sure that you comment 6 week. I'll send you some more info. You'd fill out the little form on my little type form, seeing what your goals are, and we go ahead and we'll kick some ass. And the best part is we got a bunch of people already in it so far. And everybody has different goals, right? People want to get stronger. People want to lose weight. People just want to get back into routine. And so I think when you look at it, it's a challenge for yourself. It's not a challenge for anybody else. You are competing if you want the Theragun, if you want to win a Theragun. I'm giving out a Theragun. Um, but it's a competition for yourself, right? And I think that's important to realize is that we are only ever in competition with ourselves. So if you want to get yourself and you are interested and you want coach and you want to have a meal plan, there's so much. I don't even know exactly what I'm a bad pitcher because I know we had a lot of stuff that I was giving away. We're gonna have ebooks, we're gonna have meal plans. It's gonna be way more intensive than my other 6 week, not like just more deliverables so that I could just give you more value. We're going to have a coaching call every Sunday I don't know, we haven't really figured out the best time, but it's going to be every Sunday. Yeah, so it's going to be great. And you get access to the private app where all my clients are kicking ass. So if it's something you are interested in, holler at me, comment 6 week, DM me 6 week, and we'll get ourselves together. But essentially, that's my little shameless plug for that. Get your guide, right? Get your guide, get yourself together, get your glute activation, start activating your butt for the first time and who knows how long. Get your bands out, right? I even got a link on my little guide that I gave you. It goes right to my Amazon store. So it goes right to the Amazon store. get you right to the bands. The bands are like $6. I have no affiliation with the bands, right? I don't even know who the hell it is, but I found the cheapest bands and I bought them. And I was like, you know what? They've lasted me, so why the hell not, right? They're gonna last you. So get yourself together and make sure that you use them, right? And if you're using any older bands, make sure that you just go and get yourself some new ones, because let's be honest, those things are gonna break, they're gonna rip, they dry rot, and then they smack you in the face, and you're never gonna use them again. So make sure that you you don't have that option. We want to keep yourself safe. We want to make sure that you're doing this over and over again. I feel like this ball is going to come after me. So let's just do a recap. Let me tilt the camera down over here on YouTube. You don't even see what the hell's going on. So let me do a little recap. Is that if we want to get ourselves back into glute function, we want to get our butt feeling like it's back. We want to be able to walk better. We want to be able to get ourselves back out of back pain. We want to be able to feel like our posture is good. We want to feel grounded to the earth. You got to start working on your damn glutes. So first things first, make sure whenever you are squatting, you are sticking your butt back first. Hold and push through the ground and come back up. A lot of times people just want to sink back, right? I want you to think squat, push through the ground. Squat, push through the ground. Yes, you're going to feel your quads turn on. That's great. Now we got some blood flowing. Now I want you stepping back diagonally. I want you to think it's either 7 o'clock or 4 o'clock, right? And you're doing your diagonal touches where you're touching back. And I want you to think you're not just touching. I want you to stretch that leg all the way out so you feel the glute, right? Very simple. Now, if we want to do a yoga pose, we get ourselves in our warrior 2 position, right? And I want you to push down into that pinky toe and feel the glute start to turn on. Feel the inner thigh start to turn on. Get yourself into a side angle. Same thing. Pushing into the ground, you're going to feel that glute turn on. And then exhale, bring yourself up. You do your reverse lunge. Stepping back, make sure it's train track. Drive that leg all the way up. Inhale back, exhale, drive. Now, if you could do this, right, squeezing the butt, exhale, come back up. Very simple. Lateral leg lifts, right? You get your band and you can have it around your feet. And we do our lateral leg lifts. Keeping that foot upright. And then if you don't have a band, you can turn your toe down and kind of, I always say it's like bouncing like a ball. It's like the glute bounces. That's how I always call it. But it's more or less you're feeling the top of that hip, right? Or you could just say, hell, I'm kicking this leg all the way back, but I'm going to try to keep my hips pointing up at the sky. And guess what? That's going to turn on the glute. And if you want to do something more, you can do your glute or, you know, your fire hydrants where you abduct, kick, back, abduct, kick, and back. You could do your straight leg raises, right? I have this as well. Straight leg raises, donkey kicks, right? There's so many things that you can do. The thing is you just got to, you just got to do them. And so if you have a band that will apply a little bit more resistance, like I said, start light, start medium, and then get yourself to heavy, if that's really where you want to go, if you want to build some more muscle. And this thing just smacked me on the back of the hand. Holy shit, that hurt. So don't do that. Yeah. So don't do that. But essentially, that's what's going to help you get yourself out of pain, right? So dead butt syndrome is a real thing. Glute amnesia. It usually happens to people as we get older. Happens to people whenever we're sitting for too damn long. And I tell you what, I want you to sit there and think, when was the last time you actually did a focus for your glutes? When was the last time you did banded work where it was just glutes? Whether it was a Pilates class, a yoga class, whatever it is. A lot of times people are doing these damn glute bridges over and over and over again, or hip thrust over and over and over again. Yes, that's great. But I want you to make sure before you do that, your glutes are actually turned on. There ain't no reason to sit there and do a million hip thrusts when it's everything's coming from your hip flexors and your lower back, right? So make sure that you're using these bands. Make sure that you're doing a lot of these things so that we actually have function here. so that you feel it whenever you are squatting, whenever you are bringing that leg back, right? Because it's all about health, right? It's all about health. Your video with the glute band, my legs and butt be on fire, Samantha, right? That's what I'm saying, right? Is that it's the little things with these bands, right? You don't believe it, but holy hell, these burn for like 3, 4 days, And I always get comments on there like this, Sam. Since you're on here, I always get comments on here like, "Oh, those bands don't do shit. Like, what are you talking about? That doesn't do anything for you." I'm like, have you done them? If you've done them, you'd find out that they work and I feel them. And that's also, I don't know if you were here earlier, is why I said I had to switch to the light bands whenever I do these demonstrations. It's because I was using the medium and the heavy, and yeah, there were some imbalances going on. I had a strong right cheek and then a weak left cheek because I would always right dominant. So I'm using the damn light bands from here on out. So for demonstration purposes. But yeah, that's what we got today for about our dead butt syndrome. So make sure that if you're interested, there's a guide right here, just a free little guide that I made for you. It's got some bonus tips. It's got I just pulled 4 videos from my Instagram and just really talking to you about a way to combat the dead butt syndrome. YouTube, if you're on YouTube, I don't have any automation set up for you, so you'd have to go to Instagram and comment on here. But essentially, we just got to realize why we need to activate our glutes, improved posture, reduced pain, injury prevention, all the good stuff, boosted strength, making sure that you don't get yourself out of back pain. And essentially, once you take Radiant, you ordered a new set. Oh, I know that's right. Thing is like I had some, and where is it? This one right here, this red one. This was my favorite one. And as you can tell, it is no longer a loop. This thing came back and smacked me right in the face. But that's what I get for using this for so damn long without getting a new one, because I don't know, I like this one. I was sitting there doing the pull aparts too, right? So one of my favorite shoulder exercises, now that we're here, is that I was pulling it apart doing the pull aparts, and it just smacked and bow right in the face. Yeah. So watch out with the damn bands. If you have some old bands, get yourself some new bands. They're they're $7, right? They're $7, maybe even cheaper than that. But get yourself some bands and look over the guide and just look over it just to give yourself some ideas. And always you can always come back to it. So just remember, if you these automations are always great. Technologies is great. Is because you can always come back to the guide in your DM, right? So don't use it as like a Pinterest recipe where it's just saving and sitting there and you never actually cook it or actually do it. Do these damn exercises, right? I mean, you'll thank me later, whenever in like 50 years, and you go, remember this guy had me doing this shit on Instagram? What the hell? Well, I feel great now, right? I mean, I'm not saying I'm buns of steel, but I will say I'm trying to get you going. So if you have any questions, holler at me, message me. Make sure that I will save this so you can have it. Also, I did just do a new video about dead butt syndrome, so you can also look at it on there and comment DBS. I got these damn automations going everywhere. So holler at me. Let me know how I can help. If you're interested in the 6-week challenge, let me know. We still got a couple spots left remaining for people. It's going to be a good time. Let me know how we can help. Let me know how I can help you become the best version of yourself. And I'll tell you what, I'll see everybody on Friday for Food Friday. And I'll see you next. I'll see you in a couple days. So peace out, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. All right, YouTube. So that was our our dead butt syndrome.